What up, YouTube and my friends on Google Plus? For starters, I just have one thing I want to say to Google themselves, which is that you know what sucks worse than anything in the entire world? Is censorship. And you know what sucks even worse? Is telling people that they're not going to be able to pay their bills unless the content that they produce shares the same values, beliefs, and principles of Google themselves. This is complete garbage. It's crap. And just as a note to the YouTube community, most of you don't know who I am. You probably never heard of me before. You've never seen me before. And I'm just some guy who built a media organization on the backs of Google's now massive social platform, Google+. I own brands with corresponding communities and brand pages all over the platform. It's spread out everywhere. And I have a bone to pick with Google right now. And I've heard all the arguments from Boogie and Philip DeFranco and from Rich. I've seen their takes on this stuff. You know what? I have room to talk. I have room to talk here, and I'm going to tell you why. And even though I'm not a big YouTuber, nobody knows who I am here. As for the people on Google Plus, a lot of you know who I am because I own all these brands. I own all these communities and stuff that you make use of. But yeah, I have a bone to pick with Google. And I do have room to talk, and I'll tell you why. Because over the last 3.5 years, it's been my job to design, develop, implement, and enforce guidelines across a whole swath of communities on Google+. And these guidelines affect millions of people. And at the end of the day, I have the final say on whether or not, yes, these guidelines are cool. They can be posted, they can be published, and once those guidelines go up, that's it. That's all she wrote. You have to follow those guidelines, and if you don't, that's it. That's it. You're in trouble. Because the thing is with Google Plus, unlike we've seen, there's been a lot of issues with harassment and stuff. There's a lot of craziness going on YouTube right now. We'll get to that in a minute. But on Google Plus, there's it's a heavily moderated platform. Okay, Google puts community owners and moderators, the ones that they trust, the communities that the brands and the communities and the moderators and the people that they trust in the driver's seat to basically police their platform. We have a tremendous amount of power. If you go into one of our communities and you post something that's it looks like it's harassment or it's threatening towards people or something like that, or it's something that it's deemed unacceptable for whatever reason, we report you. It's game over. That's it. That's all she wrote. You're gonna get thrown. If you act like a 5-year-old on Google Plus, you're running around threatening people, harassing people. You get thrown in the corner, you get treated like a 5-year-old. If it happens again, you get kicked out. They close your account. You're gone. That's all there is to it. Now, we have the situation now, and I get it. I totally get it. I totally get what Google insists there needs to be a system of accountability. There needs to be a system of widely accepted guidelines that we can all follow, that are fair, and that are logical and that make sense. But at the same time, like I said, for 3.5 years, I've been the one swinging implementing the guidelines, enforcing them, and swinging the ban hammer on Google Plus. And I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I have probably banned, I don't know, 20,000 people in communities in Google Plus. Some of those accounts got suspended. Some of them probably got kicked off Google Plus. We try to be fair with people. We say, hey, you're not following the guidelines. This is the deal. And some people will come back and they'll say things like, they'll start throwing profanity at us. And the next step is, well, your account's going to get suspended because we're going to report you. And Google's not going to ask us twice. That's it. If you act like a 5-year-old there, you get thrown in the corner and treated like one. Now, the harassment and stuff has a lot to do with what led to where we're at right now with YouTube, with this controversy over their changing policies regarding monetization and stuff like that. But I just think Google went too far. You know, and here I'm the one that enforces their guidelines along with our own on Google Plus, and I have been for years. And I'll tell you what, I will not endorse these new monetization guidelines that Google has put in place on YouTube. I will not endorse it. And I am all for freedom of speech. It's really a difficult task to develop guidelines that hold people accountable for their actions, and help to create a positive social atmosphere for people where they can socialize with people without having to worry about being threatened, intimidated, harassed, or and then you have people that spam social networks and stuff like that. So we have to have rules. There has to be a system of accountability. I understand that. I totally get that. But what crosses the lines when you start telling people what to believe, what opinions and what beliefs are okay and what are not. It's just this, it's kind of, this is a real gray area when it comes to social media as a whole. And there's one thing I learned from 3.5 years of implementing and enforcing guidelines on Google+. You know what I learned? The more rules that you put into place, the more you hamper people's ability to express themselves openly and freely, to communicate freely on the open web. Every time that I go and I approve and I pen another guideline to our communities, whether I want to believe it or not, and whether anybody else wants to admit it or not, whether Google wants to admit it or not, I am censoring people. I am censoring your ability to communicate. And it's not something I take lightly. I mean, this is really serious stuff. I don't want people to censor me, and it's not my intention to censor people. And when we created our guidelines, our purpose is to create a set of principles for people to follow that are fair and they don't interfere with your human rights and your ability to express yourself openly and freely. We are not into censoring people. That is not our purpose. And these rules that Google is putting into place on YouTube, you can make a sure bet it will never ever happen on Google+. I will make sure that I will never approve of it, and it will get thrown right out the door the second they try to roll it out there. It will never happen. Google, you can just forget about it. It won't happen. Not on my watch. As far as implementing guidelines goes, we have a set of rules and principles we put into place there, what we consider to be reasonable demands. With things like don't use excessive profanity, no sexually suggestive material, don't spam the platform, do not spam posts, do not, don't threaten people, don't harass people, things like that. Very, very, very straightforward, simple demands, okay? Here's the thing. Despite those rules and those guidelines that we implemented, at times we're willing to bend them a little bit. You know why? Because there's this thing that Google doesn't understand. It's called tolerance. Alright? Because there's one thing that I understand that Google doesn't. It's that humans are not perfect. We're not perfect. We all have our own personalities. We're not all the same. Our personalities are like fingerprints. You can't compare. I mean, we're not all going to see eye to eye. We don't all have the same opinions, beliefs, and views. Okay, and I'll tell you what. I don't like or believe or care for half the stuff I see on YouTube either. All right, I can't tell you how many politically or religiously motivated videos I've seen that I'm just like, oh hell no, I would never ever. I would like nothing more to see this video get thrown in the trash. But you know what? It's not my place to tell other people what to believe. You know, and I've had people come in my communities, like Strategic Social Networking. We have over 120 something, whatever, thousand members. And I've had people come in there and tell me, Daniel, I don't agree with you, and you're wrong, and this, you know, and hey, you can't make everybody happy, right? You know, I'm not perfect. I never said I was, and never intended to be. You know, I'm only human, just like everybody else. You know, and everybody has a right to their own opinion, and I will stick to that until the day I die. And you know, we implemented guidelines, and I understand what Google's trying to do. Yes, you do need rules of engagement. You do need guidelines put into place that people can abide by and follow, but that are fair. And I don't feel like telling people, oh, you're not going to be able to pay your bills because you don't share our personal views is fair. That's just not, it's not fair. It's not right. I'm not going to endorse it. And you can forget about it ever happened on Google+. I'll make sure of that. I will cut it off. I will cut it off by the throat before Google can ever roll that out in their platform. It won't make it 2 inches past anywhere on Google+. Okay. But as far as YouTube goes, I don't have any position of power here. Okay, there's not a whole lot that I can do other than voice my opinion and get involved. And it's good that people are talking about this, and that the big YouTubers are saying, hey, you know what, we don't agree with this. This is not right. It's not fair. Google, you need to do something to change this. This is not cool. And you know, like I said, I'm the guy that's been swinging a ban hammer for years. I banned 100 people last night. I did it last night. I ban people all the time. It's not my intention to ban people. It's my intention to get people. We have a set of principles. You're expected to follow them. If you're not, we'll give you a warning. And if you're still not following the rules, then we're going to ban you. And the bans aren't permanent. Like I said, we exercise tolerance. Our guidelines are centered around tolerance. In fact, the guidelines are not there to punish people. The guidelines that I put into place are not there to punish you. They're there to help you. They're there to give people a sense of direction on what they're doing wrong, so that they can avoid making those mistakes, so that they're not in trouble. Because I don't want my posts deleted. I don't want my account suspended. I don't want to get kicked off of my favorite social platforms. You know, if I'm doing something wrong, I want somebody to tell me what I'm doing wrong. Don't leave me in the dark. Well, Google leaves people in the dark. Okay, if you look at their guidelines on Google+, they're extremely vague. So what we did is we wrote articles, we pinned stuff at the top of the community for people to view that explains what is acceptable use policy for Google+. If there's anything I know, it's Google's algorithms on Google+. I know them like the back of my hand. I know how to take a piece of content and make it rank, just like that. I know what will get flagged as spam. I know what will set off their spam filters. I just know. I have spent thousands upon thousands of hours on a platform. If Google changes their algorithms tonight, I can tell. I will know when I get up tomorrow. Okay, so what we do is we try to give people a sense of direction. Okay, we try to take our knowledge, myself and those who help to run my media organization, we take our knowledge collectively and we put it together, and we inform the wider community, hey, this is what's deemed acceptable here. And you know, the communities, we put our own guidelines into place. Google, like I said, you know, in the beginning of Google Plus communities, there was no de facto standard guidelines from Google about how communities should be run, what would be acceptable policy in them, or anything. That was something that we created. Google followed suit. Google said, okay, wow, you know, they have their own guidelines. Well, you know what? Next thing you know, they're developing their spam algorithms to fall in line with what the communities are doing. I mean, they're watching what we're doing. Likewise, we're developing our rules and guidelines based on what Google's doing. We're watching and what the actions of people themselves. You know, you do need rules. You do need a system of accountability. But Google, you've gone way too far, dude. This is not cool. I will not stand for this at all. And I'll let you know right now, we will fight you on this. I would till my absolute last breath. I will not stand for this. The organization that I built on your platform, you know, I've got a gaming news brand there and everything else, and we will not back down. We will not take this line down at all. At all. And as long as people like Boogie and Philip DeFranco and these guys who rely on this to pay their bills and put food on the table for their families, you can forget about it, dude. I'm not going to go away. I am right here, and I will fight this to the absolute bitter end. And here, like I said, I think I do have room to talk because, you know, here I'm the guy who I'm the one enforcing Google's guidelines. And if I say, hey, this guy over here, he's bad news, and Google says, okay. You know, the last guy that mouthed off of me in one of the communities decided to get attitude with me and started using profanity and stuff. When I was nice to him, I said, hey, you know, you're not following our guidelines. This is what we expect people to do. And he came back with it. We don't F this, F that. I said, okay, fine. Goodbye, dude. Next thing I know, 5 minutes later, he messaged me back and says, my account just got suspended for 2 weeks. And I said, well, you know, it's a system of trust, okay? It's a dangerous system, and I'll tell you why. You know what's really scary about all this? One person. It's amazing how one person has enough power to say, you know what? Yes, these are the guidelines we're going to put into place, and this is what's going to happen when people don't follow those guidelines. That's scary. That's very, very scary. You know, a lot of these communities, it's not just myself. A lot of these communities on Google Plus, they are trusted by Google. They are wholeheartedly trusted by Google. A lot of the community owners and their moderators and the communities as a whole. And if these guys don't like you, they can do some serious damage to you. They can. But you know what? We have built a community out of trust on Google Plus. Okay. This is not, you know, I'm wholeheartedly glad that Google trusts me to the point where they say, hey, you know what, we're willing to take your word for it, that this person is deceptive, this person is spamming, this is deceptive content, this is harassment. You know, now with YouTube, I want to get to that too. Because that's really a lot of what led to what's going on right now. You've got all these people producing channels for the sole purpose of just for the sole purpose to harass, intimidate, and threaten people. And unlike with Google Plus on YouTube, there's not a strong system of accountability here. Okay, it's really hard to police a platform with 1.3 billion visitors every month. It's really, really difficult. You know, how do you implement guidelines to deal with that many people? You can't create a support staff that can manually handle that many people. Now, if you go on Google+, if you go into any of the communities that I co-own and I created, and you have a problem, you can get a real human. If you go on strategic social networking with 123,000 members, if you contact a brand page, you will get a response. If you contact one of the moderators, you will get a response. If you email us or you send us a private message and say, hey, I have a problem, you will get a real human to respond and to deal with whatever the situation is. We have people that get banned, and I've had people message me and say, hey, you know, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what I did wrong. I got banned. Can you please help me? And I'm like, sure. Hey, you know what? I'm all for it. Or I'll have a moderator, somebody, brand manager, whatever, somebody go help them out and figure out what they did wrong. Because like I said, our guidelines that we put in place are not intended to punish people. They're intended to help people and guide them in the right direction so that they're not getting into trouble. You know, because nobody wants to be slapped in the face over and over again. It sucks, okay? I try to treat people the same way that I would want to be treated myself. And I just don't believe that Google, is this the way that you would want people to treat you, to tell you what to believe, what opinions to have, and what to think? Is BS. It's unacceptable. It's going to stop right now. It's got to go. You need if you know, there's some things that like, we don't allow excessive profanity. In fact, technically in our guidelines, we don't allow profanity at all. But you know what? We exercise tolerance. And I think Google can do the same thing. We exercise tolerance in our communities. People use profanity, and I don't care for it. And I just, you know, I roll my eyes and I tolerate it. Okay? We don't allow sexually suggestive material. You won't get banned. You won't get reported to Google. Your account will not get suspended. What we do is, if you're doing things that are mildly sexually suggestive, we will delete the post and we'll send you a message say, hey, you can't do this here. You know, it's that simple. but we're not going to punch you in the face over it, you know. And if you're using excessive profanity, we're not going to punch you in the face for that either. I know people are not perfect. Sometimes, you know, that's another thing too. You know, Google's got these new harassment guidelines on YouTube. They have these new these new rules about, you know, regarding harassment. Well, the question is, how do you define the line? Where does the line meet between, you know, or divide between what you would deem to be harassment and to be constructive criticism or strong convictions, you know, ideas. So some people, you know, when they feel really strongly about something, they're going to use harsh words. And it's not that they're intending to harass somebody, it's just they really feel that strong about something. They're really that upset about something. Or they really want to get that message across. And it's maybe, and in other cases, people just want to harass people. So there is a difference. So what really matters is intent. And when we develop the guidelines for these millions of people on Google+, what matters to us is the intent. If we're using profanity, is the intent of that profanity to harass people, to threaten people and intimidate them, or is it just to poke fun at something and just have fun and joke with your friends? Or just to say, you know, I don't care about something and you have an F word in there or whatever, you know. So really what matters to us is intent. If your intent is to harass people and intimidate people, then you know, you gotta go. That's it. And you know, but if you're in the middle of an argument and you're using some harsh words and you got a couple people, I see it all the time in our communities, people get into fights, and I stay out of it. I just stay out. It's their business, not mine. You know. You know, and every now and then you'll get some idiot that goes post to post and starts harassing a whole bunch of people, like people do here on YouTube. They go channel to channel, video to video, and they start throwing expletives in everywhere and the F word and all this stuff, threatening people, you know, telling the YouTubers you're complete crap. And there's no accountability, of course, so they get away with it. And but you get on Google+, you can't do that. You can't do that. It's not tolerated there. You'll get your account closed. You won't have a Google account anymore. I mean, it'll be gone. They'll just kick you out. And so there needs to be a system of accountability. And it's not our intention to, you know, to ban people or to get people's accounts suspended or to reprimand people. That's not what we want to do. We want to guide people in the right direction. And I think Google should do that too, about what's acceptable and what's not. But you're overstepping your boundaries when you start telling people what to believe, or what they're allowed to talk about, or what their opinions should be based around. It's complete crap. It's not right. It's not going to last. You're going to kill YouTube if you keep these guidelines in place. And besides that, you're killing your biggest entertainers, your most talented content creators on your platform. The people who your bread and butter, Google. These are the people who put you where you are. You would be nothing without these people. They're the ones making you money. It's not it looks like Google's the one making them money. No, it's not. It's them making Google money. That's how it works, okay? They're making Google money. And respect is a two-way street, okay? It's not a one-way street. It's a two-way street. If you want respect, you got to be willing to give it, okay? And like I said here, you know, and this is coming from the guy who enforces Google's guidelines. I have been one of the biggest enforcers of their guidelines for years. I swing the ban hammer every day on Google+. Like I said, I did it last night. I did it this morning. I did it this afternoon. And I'll probably do it every day until the end of Google. But I can't agree with the policies that Google's put into place regarding these new policies that they have as far as what they deem to be advertiser-friendly content guidelines, and which reads, quote, anything that is content that is considered inappropriate for advertising, and it states, quote, anything that's controversial or sensitive subjects and events, including subjects related to war, political conflicts, natural disasters, and tragedies, even if graphic imagery is not shown. What this basically, this is so vague. What this basically means is that anything that Google personally deems to be controversial or of a sensitive nature can be demonetized or removed from Google just because they don't personally agree with it. There's a lot, you know, like I said before, it's a lot of things I don't personally agree with. But should I be afforded the right to, so if somebody comes into one of my communities and they don't agree with me, I should have the right to ban them, report them, and throw them out of the community? I mean, does that sound right to you? It doesn't sound right to me. I don't treat people that way. And I'll be damned if I'm going to stand here and let Google do this and treat people that way. It's not going to happen. You know? But yeah, I mean, so basically anything... This basically essentially means that if you were to produce videos around anything that's religiously or politically motivated, you could be sharing your political views or your religious views, etc., and anything that's deemed sensitive, and Google will say, oh, this is a sensitive subject. You know, you can't talk about your religion because that's a sensitive subject. You can't talk about your political beliefs either because that's a sensitive subject. These are touchy subjects. I agree, they are. You know what? I don't think it does the world any favor to censor the world's biggest issues and try to pretend that they don't exist and just hide behind, you know, this fake world that Google wants, this perfect world that Google wants to create where, you know, everybody's just perfect and everybody just agrees. It doesn't work that way. We all have our differences, you know. And you know what? On Google Plus, I kind of did carve out the perfect world. I kind of did. You know what? If I go into strategic social networking with 120 whatever thousand members, I rarely ever see people badmouth each other. I rarely ever see people argue with each other. People are really respectful of each other. You know why? Because we set the scene for that. You know, when we develop these brands, I treated people with respect. I treated people with dignity and respect. You know, and likewise, they treated me with respect. Now they treat each other with respect. And when you get on YouTube and you got people that are supposed to be setting, you know, you're supposed to be setting the image for the rest of the community to follow. Okay, you know, you got channels producing content, like I said, for the sole purpose of harassing people. You know, what kind of message does that send to YouTube members, to the people who are ingesting this content? What kind of message does that send to other YouTubers that are producing content on the platform? You know, if anything, you should be the voice of reason. You know, you should be the one that's harassing people. You should be the voice of reason about why people should be harassing people, why people should be respecting each other, and why people should be doing all these horrible things that we see going on right now. And, you know, Google, you're right. There should be a system of accountability, but this is too much. You've gone too far, and something's got to change. It's got to change. I mean, this cannot go on. I'm really frustrated right now. You know, we're getting ready. We're just moving our media organization on YouTube. I've got gaming channels on here and stuff like that. And I'll get to that in another video. I'm not getting into all that right now. But yeah, we have a number of gaming channels here that we've just recently launched, and some we're just working to build up now. And we're going to launch more channels and hopefully, you know, bring our audience from Google Plus over here. But in the meanwhile, man, for the sake of YouTube, the future of this platform, and it's such a wonderful platform, and I really hate to see it get destroyed. Google, do what's right. Do the right thing. You know, learn to exercise some level of tolerance. Like I said, you know what? People go in our communities and they cuss. You know, people will get fights and arguments, stuff. You know, try to. Sometimes you just have to say, you know what? People, you know, when you start telling people what to believe or what they're allowed to believe, what they're allowed to think, or what their opinions are allowed to be, you're going down a road, Google, that you don't want to go. I mean, you're heading down a dark path, and I'm telling you what, you head down that path and you're gonna reach a fork in the road, and you're not gonna like where you end up from there. It's not good, you know. It's really not. And I really hope that Google can do something, you know, rethink these guidelines they put into place, you know, because this is totally unacceptable.